In December of 1650 at Oxford University, a crowd gathered in a lecture room to watch two doctors cut open the body of a young woman. She had been hanged that morning for murder. She was lying in her coffin, and one of the doctors leaned in to begin. And then the corpse coughed. Her name was Anne Greene. She was 22 and she worked as a scullery maid, the lowest job in a big country house, for a wealthy old magistrate named Sir Thomas Reade. And sometime that year, Sir Thomas's grandson, a boy of about 16, got Anne pregnant. She'd say later she didn't even know she was. Then one day, about 4 months in, Anne was suddenly in terrible pain. She made it to the privy, alone. And there, alone, she miscarried. The baby was tiny, not even halfway grown, and stillborn. It never took a breath. Being an unmarried servant girl in 1650, she panicked and hid the body. Now, here's the law that was waiting for her. England had a statute that said, if an unmarried woman's newborn dies and she hides it, the law assumes she murdered it. Hiding the body is the guilt, unless she can somehow prove the child was born dead. The body was found within days, and the man who had Anne arrested and prosecuted was Sir Thomas Reade himself, her master, the grandfather of the boy who got her pregnant. At the trial, a midwife examined the evidence and told the court plainly, this child was far too small to have ever lived. Anne told the court she was innocent. The jury found her guilty of murder anyway. That's what the law demanded. The boy was never charged with anything. So on the morning of December 14th, 1650, Anne Greene was led out into the castle yard at Oxford in front of a crowd. She stood at the foot of the ladder and told them one last time that she was innocent. Then she climbed. And I have to explain what hanging meant in 1650, because it's the reason everything after this happened. There was no trapdoor, no drop, no quick broken neck. The executioner just turned you off the ladder and the rope strangled you slowly in front of everyone. It was so slow that Anne's friends couldn't stand it. They ran forward, grabbed her legs, and pulled down with all their weight, trying to help her die faster. A soldier stepped in and struck her body with the butt of his musket. Same reason, because in 1650, that was kindness. She hung for half an hour. Then, the sheriff declared her dead. They cut her down, nailed her into a coffin, and carried her across town. Because her sentence didn't end at the rope, the bodies of the executed went to the university for the doctors, which is where we started. The room, the crowd, the two young doctors, William Petty and Thomas Willis, bending over the coffin to begin. And Anne Greene coughed. Both men froze. Petty reached down and pressed his fingers to her neck and felt a pulse. Faint, but there. The woman England had hanged that morning was alive in her coffin. Understand what was lying in front of them. A convicted murderer. Legally dead. Sentence carried out, witnessed by a crowd, signed off by the sheriff. All they had to do was wait a few minutes and get on with the lecture. Instead, they went to work. Fast. They forced hot cordial down her throat. They rubbed her arms and legs to drive the blood back into them. They bled her because it was 1650 and that's what doctors did. They wrapped her chest in hot poultices and put her into a warm bed with another woman to hold the heat on her. And one more treatment at the absolute cutting edge of medicine at the time, a tobacco smoke enema. I'll leave that one with you. They worked on her into the night. And in the morning, Anne Greene opened her eyes and spoke. But when they asked her about the hanging, the ladder, the crowd, her friends pulling on her legs, the half hour on the rope, there was nothing there. Her memory stopped before the scaffold and started again in the bed. She had been to her own execution and missed it. Word tore through Oxford, and the authorities now had a problem no court in England had ever faced. What do you do with a woman you've already executed? The doctors argued the medicine, the baby was stillborn. She'd been innocent from the start. But it was 1650 and the answer everyone could agree on was bigger than medicine. Nobody survives all of that unless God himself has overruled the court. Heaven had retried Anne Greene and acquitted her. She was pardoned. And then came the crowds again. A pamphlet was printed about her, with the perfect title, News from the Dead. Oxford students wrote poems about her. One of them was a young Christopher Wren, who'd grow up to build St. Paul's Cathedral. People came from all over and paid at the door to see the girl who wouldn't stay dead. And standing next to her bed on display was the coffin. She kept it. When Anne finally went home to the countryside, the coffin went with her. A souvenir, she married. She had 3 children. The 2 doctors who chose her pulse over their lecture became 2 of the most important scientists of their century. Petty helped invent economics. Willis mapped the brain and gave his new science its name, neurology. And Sir Thomas Reade, the man who sent her to the gallows? The accounts say he was dead within days of the hanging. He never saw her pardoned. Anne Greene was innocent the whole time. Everyone in that courtroom heard the midwife say so. It took dying to make them believe her.